Hi everyone, welcome back to This Book Belongs to. So we are going on a journey, or at least I did, because I forgot to film an intro. So this is Pam from the future welcoming you to today's video, which is definitely inspired by one of my favorite booktubers, content creators in the entire YouTube space, Carrie. Carrie can read and carry cake, so I'm gonna link her channel and some of my favorite videos from her in the description below. You should definitely check her out. She's amazing, she's very funny, love her. Yeah, so what is this video about? Well, I'm sure you've seen from the title, but I decided to embark on this journey to the end of the world, if you will. I read the entire Four Horsemen series by Laura Thalassa. Now this book, I just randomly saw it on Kindle Unlimited. Actually was really interested by the premise of the book. So if you're not familiar by the Four Horsemen series, I would classify it as a dark fantasy romance. We are essentially following the four horsemen of the apocalypse, one per book, as they seek to end the world as we know it. So this is sort of the blurb that's in Kindle Unlimited. They came to Earth. Pestilence, war, famine, death. Four horsemen riding their screaming steeds, racing to the corners of the world. Four horsemen with the power to destroy all of humanity. They came to Earth and they came to end us all. You kind of know what you're getting into a little bit. Okay, full disclaimer. This is going to be 100% spoilery. I will be filming my live reactions to most of the scenes of the book. So if you don't want to be spoiled, if you have any plans at all of reading this book, do not watch this video right now. Maybe save it, bookmark it, watch it later after you finish the series, because you are definitely going to be spoiled. Now, if you have read the series or if you have no intentions of reading it, welcome, hello. Welcome and join me for this ride. I'm not gonna prolong this video anymore because I know that it's like an hour long already. So let's move on to the first book. So the book begins with a little bit of a prologue introducing the whole concept of the four horsemen. But the actual start of the story, it's year 5 of, I guess, since the horsemen came to Earth. And we have Sarah, which I think is our main character. She's a firefighter who volunteered to stay behind to do this plan that they have to, I think, kill Pestilence, one of the horsemen. Apparently, ever since the horsemen came, the electronics that they have hasn't been working well. Sarah is basically staking out Pestilence. So she's at this town, I think she's at Whistler, yeah, like a city at Whistler in Canada, and she's basically like staking out this highway and waiting for Pestilence, the horseman, to pass by, and she's gonna shoot him? Question mark. That's the big plan that they have. Does Pestilence like just ride through the entire country? Like, I don't know, it just sounds like such a stupidly simple plan for the destruction of this supposedly godly being. Anyway, we're just getting to the part where Pestilence is arriving with the first snow of the season. Okay, he's here. He's almost too much to look at. Too breathtaking, too noble, too ominous. I hadn't expected that. I hadn't expected to forget myself or my deadly task. I hadn't expected to feel ... moved by him. Wait. Is her last name Burns? Like Sarah Burns? Like she's a firefighter and her last name is Burns? She burns him. As expected, not dead. Pestilence is very much alive. He's apparently starting to like regenerate, so it's kind of disgusting. He obviously is very mad. He drags her outside into the snow and basically he like roughs her down, trying to make sure that she doesn't have any weapon on her. He's like a corpse, just a talking corpse. And so this Pestilence guy, so he's practically burnt off, right? Slowly regenerating. But it's so funny that he still managed to take one of the blankets and wrap it around his waist, because you know his like clothes have burned off. He's a pretty modest guy, I guess. Pestilence ties up Sarah. Sarah is a firefighter, so apparently she can keep up with, I guess, being dragged by a horse. But then when they stop, he has healed enough that most of his like facial features are perfect. And Sarah's, after being dragged for hours, these are Sarah's thoughts. He's painfully beautiful with his mournful blue eyes and his high, proud cheekbones and the deadly set of his jaw. One of my hand twitches as I self-consciously try to tuck a lock of my sweaty brown hair behind my ear. What is wrong with me? Yes, Sarah, what is wrong with you? No, Sarah, I don't think it's ever appropriate to hate bang the guy you tried to kill. Or, you know, the guy that's basically killing the entire world. So, Pestilence has basically taken Sarah as prisoner. And of course, as a human, she has to go to the bathroom. Pestilence wants to make sure that she doesn't escape. So, he is standing right beside her as she pees. I am just so amused at Sarah's thoughts. Pestilence has her in a bed and he instructs her to sleep. And then she says, honestly, this guy is insufferable, even if he is annoyingly handsome. Actually, that might be what's making it worse. He's like the most aggressive form of my already most hated male combo, the hot asshole. Sarah wakes up in the middle of the night and she notices that Pestilence isn't in the same room as her. So obviously she tries to bolt, she tries to escape, but as she is running, Pestilence shoots her with an arrow. She keeps running, shoots her again with another arrow, and he basically rides his horse to her, grab her back again, and start dragging her. I don't know how this is gonna turn into some romance, because this is brutal. I mean, she did shoot him and burn him alive, but in her defense, he was basically killing everyone. So I don't know how this is gonna turn into romance. Like, it's very Stockholm syndrome. Well, I guess he's gonna prove you wrong, because this is a fantasy romance. He's definitely gonna romance her ass. Pestilence is just riding through the entire world, killing everyone. Every now and then they stop at houses because our human Sarah needs to do human things. So while at this random house, apparently Pestilence goes to the shower and he comes out fully naked. I think I have a clip of that part. So Sarah says, put some clothes on, I don't want to see that, blah blah blah. And of course, since Pestilence is hellbent on making her suffer, and since it seems that, you know, him being naked is making her suffer, then proceeds to just not put clothes on. Oh my god. The what now, Sarah? The sexy time vibes? They're at another house again. This one has a bathtub and electricity. So Sarah ends up taking a bath. But of course, Pestilence has to make sure that she doesn't escape. Sarah's fully naked now. She's trying to take a bath. And she's trying to wash her back, but unfortunately she can't really reach parts of her back. So now we've got Pestilence washing her back. I'm only doing this because your weak attempts at hygiene are painful to watch, he warns. Hi everyone, it is the next day and I stopped at chapter 14. By the end of chapter 14, they were still riding through the highway, but Pestilence decides to make a pit stop at a hospital because they ran out of gauze. But of course, Sarah felt really bad because she feels like going to the hospital, she's gonna doom the patients to death because Pestilence brings the plague. But obviously, Pestilence says that it doesn't matter if he goes inside the hospital or not, they're still doomed. She just feels very guilty. She just doesn't want to see, I guess, the faces of the patients who were probably too weak to evacuate and just had to wait there and face their deaths. So she doesn't want to go there. So she suggests going to a general store. The horseman squints at me. And you think I should go there instead? Absolutely. Then it is settled, he says with finality. Was convincing him really that easy? For an instant, I almost believe it. But then, Trixie Skills, Sarah named the horse Trixie Skills, keeps clumping forward, and the hospital looms ever closer. What about the general store? I look over my shoulder at Pestilence. His face is grim as it meets mine. I mean to make you suffer. Sarah is basically passing out because of hypothermia. Of course, she's human, it's winter, it's raining. She starts to pass out and she lies down on Pestilence's arm because she's riding in front of him. And then Pestilence is like, you're not alright. Of course she's not. What do you expect? Okay, so we've got the it's so cold, you need to take off all your clothes and we need to hug trope. I glance over my shoulder and sure enough, there's Pestilence spooning me like we're lovers. From what I can tell, he doesn't have a shirt on. Deep breaths, Burns. So she starts sort of panicking and basically she asks if, they did anything. And then Pestilence just answers, you were hypothermic. Of course. It's the trope, guys. They've been riding through, for the most part, like small settlements, like small towns, very far apart from each other. So a lot of roads, a lot of nature. But now they are coming up to Vancouver within 18 kilometers. So Vancouver is a big city. Once they got to Vancouver, they start getting shot. Of course, there's a lot of people still in the city. A lot of people have taken up vigilante justice and obviously wants to kill Pestilence. So they start raining down fire on Pestilence and of course Sarah because she's riding with him. So I'm not sure if something's gonna happen, if someone's gonna get shot, but they're basically just running for their lives right now. I'm predicting that Sarah is gonna get shot or something like that because she just gets tortured in this book. Essentially, that's basically what this book is about. Sarah getting physically, mentally, and emotionally tortured as she starts to sort of fall in love. I don't know what's happening, guys. Pestilence has been shot at or something like that. So yeah, now she's worried. Just pretend that slowing Pestilence down is the only reason why you're not trying to escape while he is recovering. This just made me cackle so much. So while Sarah was bathing, they were drinking Red Label, right? Because Sarah was supposed to use it to disinfect his wounds, but being that he is Pestilence and he apparently controls all kinds of infection, he doesn't need that. So they just start drinking it. And basically Pestilence got fucking drunk. He is shit-faced. Oh shit, here we go. They finally kissed. They're riding the horse again. They have a massive hangover because they polished off like 2 bottles of hard liquor last night. So she ate pancakes this morning and then they had this little thing last night where they almost kissed, blah blah blah, tensions, whatever. And then this morning they were riding over the ocean again. But Sarah was obviously feeling very squeamish because she has a hangover and the galloping of the horse doesn't help. So she starts to puke, but the motion of like throwing her head to the side to puke has her falling off the horse. So she falls into the ocean, promptly sinks and drowns. But of course, Pestilence helps her out and he's basically very angry because he thinks that she tried to kill herself. So Sarah is like annoyed because she's like, I just needed to puke. That's all. Why you're so concerned? Anyway, you've made it plenty clear today. You don't care much about me. And the horseman glares at her. He jerks her face forward and kisses her. I just realized that Pestilence is basically kissing her right after she puked. It's definitely gonna smell some type of way, Pestilence, choose your moments wisely, okay? Choose your moments. I've been thinking about this a lot, that Pestilence horse is starting to look like a pack horse of some sort because they're just stuffing that horse with food, with blankets, with gauze, and now, what, tent poles? They are camped out right now and obviously the tent is tiny and they start, getting into it again, kissing and whatnot. And for a second there, Sarah was like really getting into it, that they start, going through the motions. Pestilence asks Sarah if this is love, because it says that he's losing himself to the sensation of Sarah. So Sarah sobers up real fast. She says like that this is just lust. But of course, our dear Pestilence, the pretty boy, the plague boy, he is falling in love with Sarah, after torturing her and all. So sweet. Of course, we gotta pull out that pun, play on words on plague. Here's a little update. They had sex. It's just so funny because the next chapter after they had sex, it says, note to self, Pestilence doesn't do casual sex. I was confused by that. I'm like, okay, so what's gonna happen? So apparently Pestilence starts bringing her breakfast in bed, starts like pulling her aside all morning to steal quick kisses, and then this is like the cherry on top. Pestilence takes her to the church because he wants to marry her. I don't know. It's so funny because now we're talking about Pestilence, the conqueror, the harbinger of death. And we're talking about his virginity. Because apparently Sarah is the first ever being that Pestilence has been with. Essence. I can't. I hope I don't look too crazy. I've been reading while lying down, but I don't know what I last updated you with, but essentially they were riding through the city, and obviously more people want to stop Pestilence. What happened? They were riding through the city, through the highway, I think, but a bomb goes off. So there was a planted bomb and essentially kills Pestilence practically and his horse, and also knocks Sarah unconscious. Pestilence protects Sarah from getting the worst end of the bomb. Sarah wakes up, she's tied up, and Pestilence is like basically crucified, and they're gonna burn him. They realize that Pestilence can't die, so they just do their best to make him suffer. What they eventually figure out that Sarah and Pestilence are a couple, essentially. So they kill Sarah, or at least they shoot at her in front of Pestilence. Poor Trixie. Now this like majestic horse is dragging a wagon with a bed and mattress and pillow and a blanket for Sarah. Hi everyone, good morning. I think there's a huge gap between my last update and where I am now, which is I finished the book already last night. So let me just recap you a bit. They're in a hospital. Sarah has started to wake up after being very severely injured. She was shot at because of the gang that was trying to kill Pestilence. So they're at the hospital. She's going in and out of consciousness, and she has like a memory of Pestilence basically getting mad at like other humans for refusing to help her. When she woke up, she asked Pestilence about this, like what happened here, because she saw that there were a lot of dead bodies in the hospital. At first, she just assumed that they were taken by the plague, but upon closer inspection, she noticed that the way that they died did not match with the symptoms of the plague. So she asks Pestilence about this, and basically Pestilence admits that he killed everyone who would not help her. He found a couple of people who would tend to her wounds, but he also eventually killed them. So she's always on this sort of seesaw where he feels angry that Pestilence is bringing upon all of this death and tragedy into the world, but then she feels like conflicted because she knows that Pestilence did not want to do this. It was just his purpose. So she's always like on that seesaw. So anyway, while they were in the mansion, they basically stayed in that house for weeks because Pestilence wanted to make sure that Sarah is fully healed. One day, while Pestilence was watching the TV, because in this house electricity still worked, Sarah noticed that the news said that the plague was still consuming most of like the West Coast, like it's in San Francisco. I think they're in like Seattle area. But then the plague is still spreading in like San Francisco, Tacoma, further and further south, which confused her because she was with Pestilence the entire time. Pestilence never really left for long periods of time, so how is he still infecting them? Like, is there a different horseman or whatever? So she confronted Pestilence, and Pestilence admitted that he could have infected more people at a wider range at any given point. He just didn't feel the need to. And that's when Sarah put two and two together that he is angry for what happened to Sarah, and he's basically avenging her. She thought that she could change him. She thought that she could make Pestilence see what it's like to be human, like the goodness in the humanity. So she tries to leave. Obviously, Pestilence doesn't let her. Pestilence tried to argue with her, tried to plead with her to stay, that, you know, he's saying that he's just doing this for her, and that when everything is gone, he would still have Sarah by her side. All of those melodramatic lines. But Sarah gave Pestilence an ultimatum, like, if you want me to stay, you have to retract the plague. He begs, but Sarah still does not agree to it. So what he does is he carries her, put her inside her room, boarded up her room, and basically locked her in. So she's basically like a cage bird at this point, like a prisoner once more. They don't talk, they don't interact, except when Pestilence leaves food for her and everything. On day 8, Pestilence barges down into her room, and he says, "I cannot do this anymore," he admits. "I surrender." And he removes his crown from his head, tosses it to the floor, and he says, "It's yours. I may have laid claim to the world, but I have lost you, the only thing I ever really wanted. You're free to leave. I will not stop you." Sarah leaves. Pestilence doesn't go after her, and she is free. She walks back to Canada. It takes her weeks, and by the time that she got to the border, she starts interacting with more and more people. Like, more and more people are out and about, and it sort of seems like things are starting to go back to normal, which she found suspicious. When she came across this Outpost store, she talked with the owner, and basically the owner said that, "I don't know if you've heard the news, it seems like the plague has stopped. The plague is gone. People are getting better. People who are sick are getting cured. No more sickness." So everyone is starting to rebuild their lives. Sarah continues to become a firefighter. One day she is at home and somebody knocked at the door at night. But when she opens the door, she sees in his full glorious being Pestilence, but without all of his divine armor and crown and everything. Pestilence looking very human, of course, still very handsome, still very delicious, but very much human, in a flannel shirt no less. And she's confused, what happened? Pestilence just says he realized that what he was doing is wrong after he had lost Sarah, canceled the plague, and since then, since Sarah has left the mansion that they were staying at, he has been tailing her. He has been following her, making sure that she's well protected because she hasn't really fully healed from her injuries. Like a total creep, he has had time to contemplate everything and make sure that he has made the right decision, wants to make amends, basically. And long story short, they had sex, they professed their love. So yeah, that is the end of Pestilence. They live happily ever after. We have an epilogue where they obviously have kids now. It's year 10, 5 years after the events in the book. Pestilence gets up, suddenly drops the book that he's reading, and he seems like he's having some kind of heart attack. But he realizes that the wheel of fate has been set in motion, he says. It still turns without my help. I can feel it. My brother is waking. Pray for the world, dear Sarah. War is coming. And of course, that means we move on to the next book, which is the second book in the Four Horsemen series, War. Ooh, we're in a new place. So we start the book with Miriam. It's year 13 of the Horsemen, and she is awoken by a nightmare, and she can't go back to sleep. She decides to scavenge, because Miriam is, I guess you can say, a merchant. She scavenges stuff and sells them, mostly weaponry, like bows, painted arrows, things like that. Because now that it's year 13 of the Horsemen, things have descended pretty much to chaos, so you're left to fend for yourself. So weapons are very much the style these days. So yeah, that's where we start things off. Very dark, very grim. I'm gonna read some more and then I'll update you. Just her luck, he's here. A monster of a man sits on his blood-red steed, a massive sword strapped to his back. There are gold rings in his dark hair, and coal thickly lines his eyes. His cheekbones are high, and the scowl he wears makes him look absolutely petrifying. Hi everyone, it's been hours since my last update because I have a day job and I just haven't had the time to just read. So where did I leave you? I think war is coming to Jerusalem with an army of thousands of people who have basically pledged their allegiance to war. We don't know yet if he's like controlling them or anything like that, but we just know that war is here to wage a war. He just very immediately gets hit in the face with carnage, with the destruction, the path of destruction that war has left. So many people dead, so many people who basically did not stand a chance at all. So that's where we are right now. Okay, our main character, Miriam, is a badass. So essentially she's like trying to save as many people as she can by just shooting her arrows at the army, and suddenly she finds war. And she just decides, I'm gonna try shoot down this horseman. Okay, I did not expect that at all. So they were fighting, right? And Miriam falls to her back. War lifts his sword like above her and, just right into the motion of stabbing her. But then he stops and he's like staring at her throat. Apparently in her throat she has a scar. We don't know yet why. And then War just looks at her and says, "You are the one he sent me. You are my wife." Okay, so War just, picked her up and basically deposited her in, I'm presuming, his camp, like his army camp. And I think War speaks like a different language, but our main character, Miriam, understands him. And still, yeah, he's still committing to this wife bit. So we don't know what's going on. Ugh, so disgusting. They're asking every single captive death or allegiance. And if you choose death, then obviously they're going to behead you. If you choose allegiance, then you're going to be part of the army that War is assembling. Settle down, big guy. So the relationship dynamic between War and Miriam is very much different compared to like Pestilence and Sarah. So with Pestilence, it's basically like enemies to lovers, right? Pestilence started by torturing her, making her regret what she did to him, and then eventually they fall in love, right? As they get to know each other more and spend more time together. But this one, War is just like, "You're my wife, and you can't say anything about it. I'm gonna treat you like my wife, and you can't say no." It's basically like that. Like, Miriam is like dumbfounded and she's like, what the heck is going on? War is kind of like this super alpha male, aggressive boyfriend type. Pestilence found herself a good pussy. War is really in full-on pursuit of Miriam. Like, he's not fooling around. Oh my gosh. I don't know what Miriam's long game is, but Miriam wants to come with them so that she could kill the soldiers. So she's gonna pretend like she's there to help them invade the city, but she's actually gonna pick off and kill War's soldier, right? So she's trying to convince War to let her join them, and she does that by kissing him. Girl is gone. She's gone. Well, at least she's self-aware. Oh god. War kisses her in the middle of a fucking war zone. There are zombies. There are zombies. I guess the zombies are more like World War Z and Train to Busan rather than like Walking Dead. Oh my gosh, so this has been foreshadowed quite a bit. There's this guy that keeps checking out Miriam, and now this guy tried to basically rape her. Miriam's a fighter, so she got to kill one of them, and eventually War comes into the scene and probably kills everyone. And now it's very likely that War is gonna keep Miriam in his tent. Like, he's not gonna allow her to be in her own tent anymore. So that's probably what's gonna happen. Honestly, if you just forgo your morality and everything, they're kind of cute. They're kind of cute together because they're both like badass. War is becoming undone. Okay, at least Miriam is much more aware about family planning than our girl Sarah. War really does not mince his words. I think this is gonna be a foreshadowing on basically what defeats War. Like, he's never experienced loss, even if it's one of the most common aspects of war. And obviously our girl Miriam is very experienced in loss. And I think, similar to Pestilence, maybe War is going to lose Miriam, and that will be the thing that breaks him. War is giving Ali Hazelwood's boys a run for their money. Okay, I need to catch you up because I've been really bad at updating. I got carried away last night and kept reading in bed, and it's kind of hard filming something when you're just relaxing in bed. By the way, I'm holding the mic because the wind is too strong and I need to put it closer to my mouth. Miriam was assaulted in her tent by this group of guys that has been bothering her since she arrived at camp, right? So she was assaulted, basically beaten almost to death. War hears her and comes to her rescue. So since then, she has been staying at War's tent, and apparently War has been healing her because War says here that my brothers and I can all do the opposite of our powers. Pestilence can spread sickness and cure it. Famine can destroy crops and grow them. Death can give and take life at will. I can injure and I can heal. And it's a matter of them judging whether or not they should. War kind of gives out a clue that the reason why there are four brothers and why they're taking turns is that it's four calamities, four chances. Four chances for redemption for humans. I finished War yesterday while I was doing reading sprints with Pam. Where did I leave you? Our dear girl Miriam gets pregnant. And she's kind of scared because he's not sure if War will spare their child. So she tries to run away. He catches up with her. And, you know, they talk a little bit about this. I'm gonna give it to Miriam. There are some moments of misunderstanding in this book, but it's not to the point where you just want to bash the head of the main characters for being so stupid and not just communicating with each other. So Miriam just comes right out and says that I'm pregnant and I'm afraid of you, of what you'll do to our child. War, he's such a softie. One of the things that War says that just gets me is, for your soft heart. He always says that to Miriam when I'm gonna sound insane, but when, like, for example, War kills an entire village but saves a girl and the girl's nephew, War is gonna whisper to Miriam, for your soft heart. It's like he saved those two because he knows that Miriam, like, would want those two people to be saved. So insane, but it's cute. Do I need therapy? Probably. War starts seeing things a little bit differently. When War went to raid one of these villages, he went back with all of the children, like all of the kids in that village. He brought them all back to camp because he couldn't bear to destroy them, thinking that one of those children could have been his own. With this change that's happening with the War, he has decided to basically leave camp behind. It's just gonna be War and his Phobos riders and Miriam and their kid. Right? While they were just sleeping around, basically fucking all day, one of the Phobos riders goes inside the tent and basically reports that a village is on their way to their camp to attack them first. So at this point, War has stopped attacking villages, but of course, War will want to protect his own camp. So he gets up, gets ready to go to the battlefield, he goes out, right? It was a setup that they are ambushing War. But when she was hooking the belt to Deimos, War's hand like slips to the side. And boom. The next chapter is from War's POV. War wakes up, still in the pit. He catches a glimpse of the surrender scar. So War knows that this is Miriam. Miriam has exploded. And so he's like devastated. He's heartbroken. He tries to heal her, but obviously there's nothing in there to heal anymore. She's gone. And then he starts muttering something in angelic. And then we get transported into the next chapter, which is War meeting up with his brother Thanatos, or Death. And essentially War begs Thanatos for their life. War exchanges his immortality, his divinely being, in order to bring Miriam and their child back to life. So it's essentially War surrendering everything to Death. And then we have the epilogue. The first horseman feels something and he thinks, oh, it's happening again. And then the second horseman, War, suddenly wakes up as if he was in a nightmare. And then suddenly he's saying, they will die of hunger. In a crypt of his own making, an unearthly creature stares. His fingers flex around his scythe. His bronze armor rustles as he steers. His green eyes open and he draws in his first breath in many long years. And then he smiles. None other than Famine is awake. Wow, year 24 of the Horsemen. This book is taking years. It's such a long time. The second book started at year 13. Okay, I just started reading it because I got distracted and I was playing with my sisters. I'm playing this game called 7 Days to Die. Anyway, I just started reading Famine, and again, it's set in a different place right now. It's set at Laguna, Brazil, which I really like that the author is trying to spread out the story. It's not just concentrated in like North America. And one thing that's different with this one is I think because it's year 24 of the Horsemen, so 24 years since the first arrival of the Horsemen, people are kind of have different approach now. Instead of like running away from the horsemen, people are trying to call the horsemen's favor by leaving, I guess, tributes and things like that to hopefully appease the horsemen. So I think the horseman is coming right now to this place where our main girl, right now she's in this little town called Laguna, and they are basically waiting for Famine to arrive. Okay, I read a little bit and it seems like our main character has already met Famine before. Our main character's name is Anna, and I think she works as a prostitute or something similar. She works at this place called the Painted Angel. Really enjoying the fact that Laura Thalassa is just out there experimenting, I think, with all of the different types of characters and different, I guess, personalities and traits that she puts in her characters. I like that. I like the experimentation. They're offering themselves up as like in a sexual way to, I guess, gain the favor of Famine, because Famine requested for a mansion, for like ale, for all of those things. Like so he looks at Anna, and Anna says that basically I am the gift, right? Famine just looks up at her and says, what even are you under all that pain? A cow? A pig? God, this one's a douche. Yes, queen, say it. Yes, confidence, I love it. Okay, so they're killing her. Like, Famine did not want anything to do with the sex and all. Took them both into this back room where they're killing everyone. And now they're killing her, Anna. She doesn't know if she passes out from the pain because suddenly she's blinking again. And then when she fully opens her eyes, like, her cheek is lying down on someone's bloody like chest or something like that. And like, this is like a scene from some kind of horror game. Okay, I've read a bit more, and it seems like our girl Anna, I'm not sure how old she is, but it seems like she was born after the arrival. So she has never known Earth pre-arrival, like the Earth that we know, the modern Earth. And I say that because she comes across a city with skyscrapers and she's really surprised because she has heard about skyscrapers but she never really believed it. Like it felt more like myth to her because she's never seen one, and she can't fathom how humans made those. Okay, so we finally get the backstory of how Anna and Famine know each other. So, 5 years ago, Famine was apparently captured and pretty much tortured. So Anna helped her, dragged her to like this abandoned house, and they basically stayed there until Famine was able to regenerate and fully heal. They left the abandoned house because there were some hunters looking for Famine, and eventually they made it to the town where Anna lives. Anna with her cousins and her aunt. And Famine was angry, obviously, took his revenge, killed everyone in town in the same way that he usually kills them, like with the plants and everything. He created an earthquake that leveled the town and basically killed everyone. So Anna witnesses this, and basically she got angry because everyone, the life that she knows of, is no longer there. She didn't think that Famine would actually do that after being saved. Famine invites her to accompany him in his journey. Anna hates him, refuses, wants to be left alone, so they part ways. Now, 5 years after that, in the present time, Anna is basically sneaking up into Famine's like current mansion, if you will, and she sneaks up on him, stabs him in the neck, and basically reminded him of who she was. So I guess we'll see what their dynamic is in terms of their relationship. I love it when our heroine has a pretty fucking naughty mouth and everyone's just dumbfounded. Honestly, Anna is probably my favorite character so far. I don't have much to complain about when it comes to the writing of this book. It's actually quite good sometimes. But I don't know if I've ever read the word footfall more than I have while reading the series. This is the first book, Pestilence, and there's 14 mentions of footfall. In War, it is mentioned 20 times. And now in Famine, it is mentioned 13 times. Okay, so in Death, it's considerably less, only 11 times, but I'm thinking maybe it's because this guy has wings, so he doesn't have footfalls. But yeah, I don't know, I just noticed that. I don't know why, but Anna just tempting and annoying the hell out of Famine using like sexual remarks. It's so funny to me. God, I love this girl. I mean, honestly, she's the only one that just knows how to speak her mind. I need to update you because I'm doing that thing again where I get too excited and too immersed and I forget to do any kind of update. So yeah, they went to Sao Paulo, which is a big city with lots of drugs. So they eventually ended up in the mansion of the drug cartel boss, essentially. And obviously Famine did this thing where he subdued everyone, made the boss do his bidding and everything, did all of that. But obviously he's a drug cartel boss. He's not just going to like turn over and follow Famine. They ambush Famine, basically torture him to death. They also tried to kill Anna, but Anna sort of sees it coming and she manages to escape, saves Famine. They bunker up in this random, like, hidden part of a field as Famine heals. So it's kind of like a repeat of what happened when they first met. And now that Famine is fully healed again, they're gonna exact their revenge. So yeah, I just wanted to update. I'm kind of sleepy. It's very late. It's 2 in the morning, but I can't stop reading, you guys. I can't stop reading. I think I'm just gonna finish it because I can't stop reading. I can only imagine how confused Anna must feel right now. Part just made me laugh so much. What does a displeased cock look like? Okay, so they fall in love, they have sex, they do all the things, And in one of their campouts, they go into an abandoned building. Unfortunately, highwaymen, they're just like basically just bandits patrolling the highways, looting everyone, finds Anna sleeping alone inside the abandoned building because Famine, I don't know, went somewhere. And Famine arrives just in time for Anna to survive, but not before the guy like slits Anna's throat. Not fatally, but pretty bad. Anna didn't really notice it, like maybe from adrenaline or whatnot, so they ended up just ignoring it, and eventually they have their first sexual intercourse at the abandoned building. And then when they woke up the next day, when there's light out, they see that the wound is basically really bad, and now the wound has started to get infected. So Anna is basically fighting for her life now. Famine, this is obviously a very pivotal moment for him. Anna already said that she loves Famine because she wanted to be able to say it before she dies, if ever she dies. Famine is doing like a 10 things I hate about you kind of speech right now. Okay, so Anna was practically dying because of the infection, right? And there was nothing really that immortal doctors could do without all of the modern technology. And for some reason, I don't think Famine and Thanatos like vibe with each other. Because Famine thinks that Thanatos is just gonna outright ignore his request. So he's like, fuck them both, like the doctors and Thanatos. I'm gonna do it myself. So he starts doing some like Full Metal Alchemist shit. Like, I don't know, or like blood bending kind of shit, where he essentially focuses deep into Anna and basically kills the bacteria inside of her, because bacteria is just another life form, and his power is to create and destroy life form. And he heals her. Oh, this is new. Death is awake. Normally it takes like a couple of years after like the horseman relinquishes their purpose, but literally as soon as Famine relinquishes purpose, and then he senses that Death is awake. Oh my god, I'm going to get my brothers. Is War, Pestilence, and Famine teaming up to defeat Death? I promise I took a bath last night. I just reused this shirt, okay? Because I didn't leave the house, okay? I finished reading Famine, not even last night, like at 4 in the morning, and I really enjoyed it. Again, I'm gonna reserve all of my like proper reviews towards the end, but I think out of the three, this is my favorite so far. Mainly because I really love our main character, Anna. She's a total badass, and I like the fact that there's not a lot of the whole miscommunication because they're not communicating at all kind of trope in this book, and I really enjoyed that. We begin the final book in this surprisingly entertaining good series, Death. Okay, I'm at chapter 3, and right off the bat we get, the classic killing in this book. But our main character, who I still don't know the name of, everyone around her just dies in an instant. Their eyes roll back and then they fall down. Everyone but her. So in Death's POV, it seems like he can't kill her. Like, he can't take her soul away. Ooh, we just got the name of the girl. Her name is Lazarus. Interesting choice of names. Death just fucking snapped her neck. I think Death understood that he couldn't kill her in the normal way that he kills people. Just he thinks it and then they're dead. He just tried snapping her neck. And obviously, she's alive once again. Is this Death's idea of a foreplay? Just snapping their neck? Okay, so Lazarus finally comes across this town. Finds out that the town is still very much alive. very much unaware that death is coming from them. I have to keep remembering that they live in a time where technology doesn't really exist. Like modern technology doesn't work. So they obviously do not know what's happening in the other countries. Our girl Lazarus managed to convince everyone that death is coming, so they prepare and ambush death. As he rode into the city, they basically rain down arrows on him. He falls down. He seems to be dead, as per usual with his horsemen. And apparently, even in death, he can still kill. An officer like tried to check his pulse to see if he's actually dead, and then he just falls over and dies. Why do I have this feeling that because both of them can't die, at least not that we know of, that their sex kink is going to be like BDSM? Because it's so appropriate. Real talk, but why are these horsemen just so fucking childish? Like every single one of them. So our girl Lazarus just got death, and she has this idea of holding him captive because, you know, can't be killed, so might as well just keep him captive and prevent him from killing more people, right? Great idea. So he wakes up, Death wakes up, he's bound, and basically Lazarus is just across her with a bow and arrow, just staring at her. So this is how I'm imagining this. So he's bound, right? So his hands are on his back, and then Lazarus says, "If you move, then I attack." And then the text says, "He flashes me a sly glance, then he leans to the left. I'm moving," he taunts, and then he leans right, still moving. Oh my god. So right after he kisses her like softly and calls her this affectionate nickname, he snaps her neck. God. They meet again, Death and Lazarus meet again, but this time Lazarus was basically gagged and bound by the humans in Texas because they didn't believe her, and they thought if they could offer her up to death, then maybe Death would spare them. That didn't happen. Obviously everybody died, and Lazarus and Death got into this like battle as they usually do, and while they were struggling in mid-air, Lazarus managed to stab Death, so he kind of falters a bit. He lets go of Lazarus, and Lazarus falls and impales herself in a metal pole. Obviously she dies, comes back to life, and she's still impaled in the goddamn pole. Let me catch you up. Am I in focus? There you go. Death and Lazarus are now traveling together. They stop at an abandoned house, and basically Death kept her captive in there, tied her up in a chair, blah blah blah, as he goes off, does his thing, right? And the three horsemen, the brothers, Pestilence, Victor, War, and Famine, finds Lazarus and basically deduces that she is Death's woman. The same thing that happened with them. But then at that moment, Death comes back, and basically they fight. While they're fighting, Lazarus escapes. And then in one of the cities that has been ravaged by Death, she finds a baby boy that's still alive. So she thinks that maybe the boy is just like her who can't die, so she takes in the boy, and they keep escaping. And it takes months before anything ever happened to them. They were kind of settled down in one like spot, but then the boy gets sick, and at that point Pestilence finds Lazarus. They want her to go to this specific place. That's where they're cooped up so that they can create a plan to stop Death, right? But Death catches up to Lazarus in the hospital. Death gives Lazarus a day. He gives the boy, Ben, the baby, a day to live. Lazarus thinks that maybe one of the brothers can actually heal the baby. So she goes to the place that Pestilence Victor tells her about, and she meets up with them. Unfortunately, War and Pestilence Victor can't do anything anymore because they're practically mortal. Like Famine is still immortal, and we all know that Famine can sort of heal, right? So now Lazarus is begging Famine to heal the baby in exchange for anything, right? And then War says, "Anything? Seduce Death. Humanity will be saved by a pair of boobs." I don't know why, but knowing now that the wives and children of Pestilence and Famine and War are staying in one place makes me think of like, what stories are they telling each other? Are they like saying, "Who will I can only imagine the stories that these wives have. Okay, okay. Tootsie does not sound like something that would come out of Famine's mouth, but this line, this line feels like Anna is definitely rubbing off on Famine. We've made it to part 2, lads. Part 2. Just 200. Ooh, angel number. Forget what I said earlier. This is the 10 things I hate about you speech. Oh dear God, he has glowing tattoos on his penis. Oh God, they're gonna have sex in the air. They're gonna have sex while flying. Oh, what am I reading? Hi, are you okay? You good? You made it to the end of the video? Okay, that was certainly a ride. I honestly did not expect. What did I even expect? I quite enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun reading it. Maybe because the author really did a good job at creating different personas, different personalities for each couple. They don't have the same dynamic, which could get boring really fast, especially since the arc for every single book is the same. Now, I'm gonna talk a little bit about each book, what I liked, what I didn't like, and my rating for the book. So the first one, Pestilence. Now, Pestilence is... I rated this book 3 stars. One, because I was really iffy with the torture in the beginning. You know how they started off kind of like enemies to lovers. It was a little bit too brutal for me. I was like, how could you fall in love with this man who basically tortured you for the first like couple of months of you meeting each other? Like, how do you proceed from that? Like, I couldn't fathom that the lust or the desire would overcome basically the trauma of being tortured by this person. How do I say this? They're very typical characters, in my opinion. Now, for War, I give this one 4 stars. One, because I really like the trope of, like, I hate everyone but you. And that's what War is. Ever since they met, this is how War sees Miriam, and I don't know, I just found it cute. I also enjoyed War and Miriam's banter were quite funny. They're both like very feisty characters, and I think their personalities clash in the most fun ways. So I really enjoyed that. And War, this like big guy who's supposed to be, you know, the leader of this war against humanity, suddenly became a softie for Miriam. I don't know, I just found it so cute. So I gave that one 4 stars. Famine. Oh, Famine. Oh my gosh. This is honestly my favorite book in the entire series. I just love Famine and Anna. But mostly I love Anna because Anna is just, she's so funny, and I love how much she teases Famine to death with all of the sexual jokes and all of the innuendos. I like how Anna kind of overwhelms Famine, and I love how Anna is always the one saving Famine. I love how fiercely strong Anna is, and I love how sure of herself she is, because she's not really like a damsel in distress at all. She's like a force to be reckoned with. Famine is like Loki, honestly. Loki, like Tom Hiddleston Loki in the Marvel universe, and I just love them. They're just so funny together. The last book that I read is Death, and I also gave this one 4 stars. It's more on the lower side of 4 stars. Death is kind of just, it's a little bit too, this is gonna sound weird, but it's a little bit too supernatural for me. I mean, obviously, all of this is like fantasy, right? But in the first 3 books, our female main character, she's very much just human. But with Death, we have Lazarus who can't die. But the thing that makes me kind of like this one, because the brothers like joined together to fight Death, so we see all of them and we see how their lives have progressed ever since they lay down their sword and settled down with their women and children. And then I also enjoyed how Death is this weird, like very obsessive type of lover, where he's like, I'm gonna give you everything, I'm gonna make sure you have servants, you have the like biggest mansion. He's kind of like a sugar daddy now that you think about it. And also they have angel sex. He's the only one with wings, so he's the only one who can fly Lazarus in the air and have sex with her mid-air. Is that a good thing? I am not sure yet. With that said, I really enjoyed this series. I think it's a really good read that would scratch the itch if you're looking for very quick, very tropey fantasy romance. I think this will definitely check all of your boxes. Also available in Kindle Unlimited, all 4 of them. I kind of lost a couple of brain cells in there, but I think it was worth it. I think so. I recommend it. But, it's a dark fantasy romance, so make sure to check all of the trigger warnings for every single book because there's gonna be a lot of them. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like videos like this, and also overall if you're enjoying my channel, I hope you can subscribe to my channel. I'm working hard this year and my goal is obviously to reach 1K or maybe 500 first. Let's temper our expectations. I really appreciate every single one of you. If you made it to the end of this video, comment a horse emoji. That is it for this video. I will see you in the next one. Bye!